Guys, welcome to the channel. I was originally gonna make this video just to make a Genesis deck profile or a White Forest deck profile for the Genesis format, but it's come to my attention that I was making this deck list. I felt a little bit inspired and I had to say something, right? I've been an avid Yu-Gi-Oh player for as long as Yu-Gi-Oh has been around. I am ancient, bro. I am what the hip young folk called an unk. That's literally what I got categorized is this fucking weekend when I went to the store and they asked me about a card that literally got released on 2006. But yeah, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh unk and I can have a little bit of more detailed, how do I say, opinion about this Genesis format that just came out. And to give you a little bit more perspective, which I think this has to do a lot, because people compare this to the Commander format of Magic. I may say singleton eternal format, which Yu-Gi-Oh is an eternal format. And playing Commander for the last, I would say, month and a half or so, realized that why the hell Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't introduced a new format, and not just introduced a new format in an actual competitive format. It's been long coming, and I think this is one of the things I wanted to say. I got to play a little bit of a devil's advocate here, because there's a reason, and I've been playing Edison for the last say 3 years, because the format has been on and off in what we call stale formats. And I've been picking up Edison hat and been playing this old format to try to compensate for the lack of fun in the current Yu-Gi-Oh formats. And I've been liking it, bro. Like, picking up an old format is like really good. And I was wondering, like, why hasn't Konami actually just put these formats like in competitive events? Then I realized slowly but surely that it's literally just money, like money. Okay, sorry for saying that. Konami has to have some sort of benefit, monetary benefit, for when people play formats. I guess that's why I said it's playing a little bit of devil's advocate. This is to the detriment of Yu-Gi-Oh players having fun, of course. The problem is, if Yu-Gi-Oh is going to support this format, it has to actually make money. But I think they realized when they released the anniversary sets, or the quarter century of sets, that people do actually want to invest in these side formats. And I think that's what they opened the eyes for them to actually release an actual format that is not, how do I say, can be supported monetarily by new cards, but still has this Edison-esque feeling. This was eye-opening to me. I just want to say this really quick because I can rant this for hours. I just want to make this a 5-minute TED talk. This is going to be, trust me, this is going to be a White Forest deck profile for Genesis. But when I was making the deck profile, or was just building the deck and seeing what I was going to put or not, I saw like people put like, oh, this card is 100 points, this card is so much points, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of actually makes sense. But when I look at the library for the Genesis, or the library, I realized like a lot of these points have been adequately put. Like I was putting the White Forest engine, another White Forest engine, the Snake Eyes engine, Sinful Spoils engine into the deck, and I realized, wait a minute, these points are like actually balanced around like you not being able to like mix the engines together. Then I slowly realized, like, I see points on the hand traps, I see the points on the point breakers, and I'm like, these wait a minute, these actually make way too much sense for this format to be come out of the blue like in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm pretty sure they've been actually cooking this for the longest time possible. And I realized format, or the ban list, I want to say, actually goes off this ban list system, or off this point system. And I think Konami actually like does this small conspiracy, but I think crazy that we have to call this a conspiracy theory, but I think by the top, everybody knows this isn't actually fully implied. But this point system that the Genesis, the point system that the Genesis format has, is I think how they base themselves out of banning or not banning a card is how these points heavily influenced in a format. It was eye-boggling to me because they could have. It almost feels like they could have released this sooner. They've just been waiting for the time to do it, which is fine. I give them no heat, but what I'm saying is that this actually feels like a good format. And again, like I said earlier, like playing Commander just made me realize that some cards are not meant to be played at multiples. Like a card's strength is not only based around how powerful it is when it's played, but how often you draw it, right? That sounds redundant, but in Yu-Gi-Oh it sounds even more redundant when the maximum or the decks are 40, right? So like actually resolving a card, especially since Yu-Gi-Oh has this, how I want to say, it's distinct in other card games where every card is tutorable. Is that the term? Like every single card deck is tutorable, searchable, let's just say. So when a card is way too powerful, it just feels like 15 times more powerful than it should be, right? So like this point system just makes much more sense, and I think I wish they just made the Yu-Gi-Oh regular format like this, or they balance it around like this, because it almost feels like some of the cards should be at 1, even off the bat, even on release, I'd add. Anyways, one of the things when I was doing when making, and I have to say this so I don't forget when I'm giving you guys a deck profile, when I was making the White Forest deck profile, one of the things I noticed that deck building, like it's been almost like 8 years, because I like building decks, bro. It's something I like doing. I don't like copy pasting deck lists that just win. Even if I'm like the strategy of a certain deck and it's like the best deck, I actually just try to mix something along with it, something else, I guess, so it doesn't translate into the same deck list. What I'm trying to say is that in 7 years of Yu-Gi-Oh, this is the first time I've actually had to put cards in the deck, or in the deck that I'm building, that don't actually go in line with the strategy of the deck. Let me give you an example. In today's deck building, I have to actually scheme down the cards I'm actually putting in the deck. Like I actually have to put the correct amount of hand traps and the correct amount of engine and the correct amount of board breakers in my deck, so I can actually fit into a 40 card deck. And I actually have to card like 15 cards out of the original pool of card I want to build my deck, because that's like correct deck building. You put all the cards you want together and then you cut them off. I guess majority of the people are gonna agree with me. But then when I was making this White Forest deck list, I'm like, I actually have to build off this point system, and I can't put the Azamina engine, and I'll explain that a little bit later, but I can't mix the engines because they cost points. So I have to like completely dump an engine. So I have to play White Forest pure, right? And I can only play so much White Forest cards without actually it being trash, right? So I have to put like actual staples. You know what the last time staples were, the term staples were used in Yu-Gi-Oh? Dude, it's been a long time. I'm not saying like Call by the Grave. I wouldn't even call cards like Call by the Grave or Triple Tactical Talents a staple. I would just call them, how do I say, cards that are against the meta. Because you see cards like Triple Tactical Talents or even Call by the Graves are even playing main deck. Because staples are always playing main deck, no matter what the situation. That's what they called staples. But even cards like Call by the Grave or Triple Tactical Talents sometimes don't even see playing the main deck, because how much of a detriment they are for going first turn. To me, if I was playing an Edison, for example, and I wasn't running let's say shit, dude. Why am I forgetting cards for okay, let's say Cold Wave. See, for example, card that's a 1. It's not necessarily a staple. Let's do a better one. Allure of Darkness, right? If I'm playing a dark focus deck, and I have to run I'm always running Allure of Darkness. It doesn't matter if I'm going first. It doesn't matter if my strategy is subpar with Allure of Darkness. I'm always going to run Allure of Darkness, right? Playing Mystical Phase Typhoon, I'm always going to play MST, no matter what. It's good first, it's good second, it's actually categorized as simple. And then when I was making this White Forest deck list, I'm like, damn, I actually have to put Twin Twisters in my deck, because I think all the strategies aren't just monster based, or my opponent isn't just going to fetch a card. Damn, I've been playing too much Magic. My opponent isn't just going to search a card that he's going to always have in his end board. He can actually brick. The game is actually going to space out slow. And then my Twin Twisters can actually hit like a certain amount of combo pieces in your deck before they actually pop off. So I actually have to put these cards in my deck, and I'll show you in a bit. So it, that deck building, or that deck building, I would say like culture, I think it's gonna go back. It's gonna come back again, right? Because of how Genesis is going to act. Again, there's always gonna be a better deck. It's gonna take a while for us to figure that out. There's probably gonna be a lot of decks, bro. Because I don't think that one deck is gonna be like entirely better than the other, like completely. But there's gonna be like some. You're gonna see the difference in power sooner or later, just like everything, man. But it's not going to be as one-sided as today's format is, right? Because even if you have the strongest deck, remember there's still cards at 1, right? So even in a 40-side stack, it almost feels like you're playing a singleton format. You're not always gonna draw that card. You're the cards that are actually like always tutorable after extra deck don't exist. Links don't exist. So it's like searching cards aren't as easy as you think anymore. So I do have high hopes for this format. Let's see how everything happens. Let's see if people, the competitive environment around them is good. Because I guess the point system varies 100 and 200. So I guess we just got to see. I'm giving you guys this deck list. You guys, the White Forest boys are my boys. And I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video. Like and subscribe to the video. But anyways, no more about my ranting. Just want to put that out in the EU atmosphere. So welcome back, guys. Here we have its glory, the White Forest Genesis deck that I've managed to brew. Before we start on this deck list, guys, I wanted to show you something. I wanted to show you, this is not my original White Forest deck, by the way, that I'm running right now. It's like full board breaker. But anyways, I showed you guys in perspective how many points a fully functional White Forest in the regular format looks in perspective of how much points it has in the Genesis system. And you can see it has 777 points. Of course, I'm running 50 cards, which doesn't actually help towards the point system. But you guys can see that even if I cut the 10 cards out of this deck, it's still going to be at like the 400, 500s. And that is insane. That means that this balance around 100 points is actually going to be a detriment to a lot of decks. And how like I said at the beginning, if you like, guys, look at the multiple engines. Let's say you look at Raziel, you look at Bestials, for example. You look at all the hand traps. You look at all the newer decks like Vanquish Soul, Yummy. The points are actually made so the decks are almost not functional with other decks, right? So that is the point of the whole point. Sounds redundant. That's the whole point of the point system, is that you can't mix and match decks. If you're gonna mix and match a deck, it can't be with, like, let's say, quote unquote, another broken engine. It has to be like with, I don't want to say staples, but it has to be like a supportive type. It can't be like a broken archetype. You can't essentially play 20 cards together with one another, right? You have to play, like, I don't want to say old cards, but you're gonna see, like, I'm just gonna show you guys my Genesis card deck for the White Forest. I'm running Twin Twisters, bro, and I'm running Breakthrough Skill. So I had to actually pan through cards that are actually function the similar of the deck that I was playing. And you guys know that White Forest has a particularity where for it to actually function properly, you actually run a lot of spell and traps. So that's why we run things like Black Hole Labs, we run Imperm, things that'll not only propel our game plan, but also serve as cost for the White Forest cards, right? They also work as interruption. So I tried searching for like the best cards possible, but the thing is, one of the detriments for decks like this is that there's a lot of points that are highly inclined to the extra deck. So you're already using 45 points to the extra deck. I just want to say something. This is one of the reasons why I left this empty-handed, because I know there's a lot of synchros that you could put here, but some of them just felt like replaceable cards, right? So it almost feels like formats like 7 years ago, like only 8 to 10 cards actually matter in the extra deck. The rest of the cards in the extra deck could be really interchangeable. I just want you to know that these are the cards that you absolutely need. And one of the Chaos Angels is one of the cards that I was going to cut. But I realized that when you're playing this format, you need, and I was talking to my friend about this. When you have a deck like this, when you have a format like this, knowing there's a lot of powerful engines still running around, you need your. He said it like your deck needs to have a detonator, right? Your deck needs to have like an always accessible extra deck card that puts your opponent in a like a checkmate position. And Diabolos is a good card, but it's not like a checkmate card. It's like an engine card. So Chaos Angel is like my equivalent to like a detonator. It's like a card that my opponent has to like have main deck removal, which is going to be more accessible now. But this is like a checkmate card that I wanted to call like your checkmate card. I think every deck is going to function like this. I really don't like, I heavily think hand traps are not going to be good, right? And the reason being is because if you're running hand traps, right, and we're going into back and forth, this is not going to be an FTK format by any means. So you're going to be running a deck that has very little amount of engine, or the best cards that are really, really good engines are not one card engines. So you're going to have really specific hands for you, like set up a board or kill your opponent tier 2. Not like the format right now, right? So if the format is going to go into back and forth, the hand traps are all going to do, they're just basically going to not even 1-for-1 you. Like if you go normal summon Sylvie and they Veiler you, the Sylvie's still there for me to synchro off next turn, right? So if they can't actually kill the Sylvie, the hand traps just basically self-mill you for 1. Or how do I say, like hand loop you for 1, which is really bad. So I think that there's going to be certain amounts of hand traps that are still like decent. It almost feels like playing Hat, where Maxi was mid and Veiler was okay. Because if you're in a back and forth format, like okay, you maxi me, Sylvie search, set woes, pass. You basically essentially just like hand looped yourself for 1. So I think the better cards are going to be like very high ceiling reactive cards, like Solemn Warning. Like let's say for example, I go a Stellar, and I start summoning shit, and my opponents go Mitsurugi Prayers on my turn. Then I have a warning set for when my opponent is ready to play their ace card. Then I can play warning to stop their play. So I think this is going to be the best card. And I think back row remover is going to be premium, because you don't know what you're going to be playing against. Even when the meta is going to be very defined, unless the best like top 5 decks, for example, aren't really using back row, I think this is always like to be the safest plan. And I wanted to play a card that felt like had the functionality as droplets, like discard fodder. So the best thing I could have that wasn't on the point system was Twin Twisters, and of course they pop your toy cards if you really do need it. So I really like this build, and breakthrough skill serves as a function of Black Hole's laughs, and it's one of the things I really love the most about this card. I was originally thinking about putting Dragon's Mind and Lost Wind, but if we're gonna go into a format that it's like setup orientated, you can't always expect for the monster that's going to resolve to always be a special summon monster, right? Even Lost Wind has a higher ceiling. Just setting breakthrough skill, and your opponent goes not X. Let's say they go Sword. It's not normal summon. And you try to breakthrough skill it, so they don't get the search, for example. It's gonna be higher ceiling. Let's say they do end up getting a detonator, then you can breakthrough skill the detonator. I'm using Rizal as an example because I think it's still gonna be one of the best decks. Because for example, the Gaga cards aren't necessarily any of them in the point system. So like level 4 Exceed centric decks are gonna be really good, especially since they didn't get touched. But the points balance, the point system still balances in and out. But this is how I think it's going to look. Cards like Tails, you can run it too, and you can't. This almost felt like really bad for me. I'm like, why does playing Tails at 2 just feel so bad? Why does playing Wolves at 2 feel so bad, bro? But it's gonna be cards that are really good at 2, especially since you pitch them. There's still searchers. It's a really good card. I decided to also put Philia Diabella 2 along with Curse, because it's like the best discard card. This is your best card. Curse and Vengeance in Diabellus is just gonna be the best card, and you still have like the best OTK enabler, which is Snake Eyes was untouched. It was a surprise to me. They should have put it like 2 or 3 points. This card is a really powerful card for it being generic. And then yeah, one of the cards that really surprised me that was a lower point system was Fully Imperial Goods. I was gonna run 3, but I just decided to run the deck still 40. It does put Breakthrough Skill in your graveyard. Main purpose is just setting up Diabell and Curse, so you can have one of the best board breakers in your deck, which is just straight up activated affiliated Diabell and getting Witch out of your deck, right? And this floodgate effect for white, which is really good, like protecting yourself with destruction with just these 2 cards is just really good. So I guess this is what White Forest is gonna look like if you guys are gonna play White Forest, because it's White Forest. If you guys play as Amina, you have to play another deck. I don't think it's playable, by the way, like I showed you. Wanted Diabells and as Amina is 88 points, so you can't even play any of the fusion spell cards, which is, to me, is a little bit insane. But I guess they wanted to make Omni Negates unplayable, basically, which I do get, or like very accessible Omni Negates, like unplayable, which I do understand, right? But yeah, I really like this deck list. I'll be fixing it as soon as I play. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't like Breakthrough Skill. I really like Lost Wind, but I just want to give you guys like some examples of like discardable spell or trap cards in this format that are really good. There's a lot more, like the Cyclone card that destroys face up magic and traps is a pitchable card too. That's good. But these are like the best ones that are reactive cards. So yeah, the other White Forest cards that are not playable, not playable, but Scourge of the White Forest and Beware, which is a pop, are going to be really good this format. I'm really looking forward to playing this format, by the way, locals. So when they start playing it, like doing tourneys for Genesis, I'll give you guys like what I think about the format and updates on the deck on what I would change or not. But anyways, guys, this is for the White Forest boys, because I know you guys got this far, so you can watch my opinions about this deck. I think this deck is really good, by the way. Genesis is one of the best decks looking forward, because if you guys look at it, the White Forest engine got untouched. It's basically the field spell card, but if you look at my old videos, the field spell card is a card that you don't necessarily need a 3. It's a card that could stay at 1. I guess in the pure version, I wish you had it at 3, but you can just play it 1, because if any of your engine resolves, you're going to search this card anyways. Because your monsters will literally carry you to getting the field. You don't need this, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah. Anyways, guys, remember to like the video. Remember to subscribe. Love the White Forest gang a lot. I'll be coming back with, if I do some duels for Genesis, I'll upload them in the channel so you guys can see. But anyways, guys, hope you're having a nice week. Love you guys. And peace.